my God. Airsoft and 3D printing just got together and had a baby. And because of that, I now have the opportunity to showcase to you my favorite sniper, but in Airsoft of all time. We have a working blowback Lynx. GM6 Lynx. Just first, I want to say a huge thank you to a Airsoft creator known as Panverine who created the files to even make this possible. I have been asked a handful of times already if I can access and share, sell, or give people the files, and the answer is no, this is not mine. I'm so sorry. I don't know where they are or how you can get them. I also just want to say that I did not build this myself. I am not inclined enough to do so. This was created for me by somebody else and a company that I am very fond of. If I'm allowed to mention who it was, I'll throw their name up down here. Again, like I said, I don't know if I'm allowed yet. Just some fun history of this bullpup 50 cal monstrosity that makes every part of my body tingle and why I love it so much. It was originally designed in 2009 for the Hungary military to help destroy like lightly armored targets and small lightly armored tanks and vehicles and you name it, and it is just unreal how this thing functions. It's just so cool to watch, even if it's real steel variant. Now, the design of this is really cool, and whereas almost every single part of it is plastic and 3D printed, there are a few rods and springs and screws and pins and things that are needed to be metal. There also is a real airsoft barrel and bucking on the inside of the GM6 Lynx. I don't want anybody to get under the impression that I am bashing it. It is an awesome design. However, even in its final form, there are a lot of things that are just kind of quirky and difficult to work with, especially if you change things at all. From back to front, you have the stock, and in the stock actually houses one of the first recoil springs, which you can take out and reinstall if need be. And this recoil spring and rod are what control the shell ejecting or the reloading of the mock rounds. Yeah, mock rounds. This isn't actually the mag that's going to house the real BBs. This just houses your fake rounds in case you want to run it with shell ejection. And to take that mag out, if you just slide it back in, there is a button on the far side just behind the grip, and you press it and it just pulls your mag out. You can reindex it again. It's relatively stable. This is your dust cover that really doesn't want to stay down. It is spring assisted and is supposed to stay down, but again, like I said, this thing's tolerances are meh to begin with. It works, but like just enough to make it function. It definitely needs some QC, and again, printed parts warp and things like that too. I would love to see something like this mass produced though. Just above the mag is the charging handle, which you'll notice is right near this bearing. The charging handle actually folds and flops off to the side, and all you have to do is pull this guy back, and at the same time it will start to pull the barrel just before it releases it, therefore allowing it ready time to grab another round and retracting the follower of it forwards. I don't know all the technical terminology here. By the trigger system, this is where your FCU is. Obviously, it's in front of the mag because it is a bullpup. It's super cool, though. Your trigger, just behind it, has a small, another, I guess, second mag release, and that second mag release is actually for where you're going to stick your Glock mags. Believe it or not, it actually takes Glock bags. That's how it's powered. That's where the BBs go, and you're going to actually run that on HPA. Rail space is actually one of those things here that is readily available. You have some rail space up on the right side and on the lower half. You also have a giant rail that you could throw any scopes on that you would like, and then there's even another spot for rails on the left side. This small space is for a bipod. You can use a bipod on it if you like. I'm not going to, but it does get a little heavy if you were to not make this out of all plastic. I do also want to say one part on here that broke is the barrel lock. There is a way to lock the barrel back when you're going to, prior to using it, but that needed to be glued on and it busted off, so that doesn't work, but I don't really care about it. Now, another thing that makes this so cool is the fact that the barrel also retracts in order to help load another round and adjust for recoil, which is so freaking cool. And it needs a second spring, so what you'll do is you have like this barrel locking nut, and right in the back is the second spring, and that's what allows us to retract the barrel. You can just press that right back on there if we can clear up the spaces that those little grooves go into. Come on, here we go. There it is, and that's locked in place. That's not going to go anywhere. Now, like I said before, when loading the GM6 Lynx, what you're going to want to do is take a Glock mag, and you can run this on gas or HPA. I just have mine HPA tapped. And this is your, not only power, but also actually where your BBs come from, which is really cool. And it's designed to work best with the WE style, the flat router gas mags. It doesn't do so well on like the VFC style with those rounded routers. And we'll just load this mag up with some BBs. I got some .3s. We'll just drop these on in. Try and get a perfect stack if I can. That's going to have to do. And then the entire thing just drops inside of the grip. But what I highly, highly recommend you do first is attach your HPA line, because it goes really far into the grip, so you're not going to be able to reach that once it's inserted. Now just push that guy up in place. And that ain't coming out anytime soon. Enough yapping. Why don't we go ahead and see how it looks when it fires. So hopefully we can get it to cycle all the way. I definitely recommend taking the mag out first, and we'll go ahead and just pop the HPA line on that first. Now with this guy, I'm going to start it at 80 PSI, and then we'll kind of work our way up from there if we need to go any higher than that. Now again, you're not going to be doing any speedy reloads, because you got to either A, have one of these tapped every time, or reload the Glock mag. But we'll go ahead and throw this in. And the reason you want to attach the HPA line early on is because there's no way you're attaching that later, because it's so far in there. You basically have to take the whole mag out in order to get it run. So we won't run any shell ejecting through it just yet. We'll test that out afterwards. We're going to try and run this guy. See, I always have that issue where it gets stuck for a second. Without it, we'll just see if it fires. We'll see if we get the bolt to retract all the way, and we'll see if we can get BBs to come out. Now, one thing that I did notice that I was having some trouble with was the mag was sitting a little shallow, and my air seal wasn't great. So originally I was having some issues with getting the bolt to reciprocate all the way, like the second part of the bolt to get locked back and then fall forward after the front of the bolt pushes forward, or the full barrel pushes forward. So I actually shimmed the mag, so hopefully that'll solve that problem. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Nothing. Nope, nothing. Maybe we'll pick up the PSI. Our PSI dropped like crazy. I went down. Yeah, I think that was just too low. Let's try that. Okay, so we're not going all the way back. Let's see if we can get a little bit more power out of it. We'll bump it to 90. See if 90 changes anything. Again, this is fully lubricated now. Still not too much. We may need to crank this up to the 120 mark. And we'll try that out. See how we're not getting it to lock back all the way? I mean, it's feeding a BB and the barrel's retracting. The lock back is the problem. Oh, that was close. You can see it's running, but it doesn't want to lock that second part of the bolt back, and I'm not 100% sure why. Very interesting. So I just figured out, I mean, BBs are coming out, but if I tilt it slightly upwards, it's more likely to get the second part of the bolt to connect backwards. You'll see if I point it up a little bit. There it is. Oh, we get stuck. There it is. It's so cool, but it's just super finicky. There we go. Oh, you can really feel that recoil when it locks back all the way. Why don't we try and throw some shell ejection into this? Got the these giant mock mags, and you can see they are spring assisted. And be prepared, because the sound is going to be atrocious because it's plastic on plastic. But we've also got some 3D printed shells. If we take the 3D printed shells and we load them in facing this way, we have to go. Now I'll try and like finger assist it for a second. Forward, down. There we go. You can get them to lock in place. This is when they start to sound horrible. Oh, that plastic on plastic is rough. But you can load the mock shells into the mag. I think it takes, I don't even know. We're just going to put 5 in. See if we can get 5 to go in. That spring starts to get pretty aggressive, though. Hopefully it can still rip those shells out. Super cool. They're just hollowed out like mock 50 cal shells. I don't know if these are similar in size to a 50 cal shell. I've actually never held a real shell with 50 caliber in my hand, but They look around that size. All right, so we got the mock shells all loaded into the mag. Let's see if we can get these to retract. I don't even know if they're going to. I really hope they do. That'd be super cool. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Come on. It does not want to. It's getting stuck. I don't know if you could see that. It definitely, it grabbed the shell in there. If you could see down in the base, grab the back of the shell, but it just does not want to retract. I'll try and pull the mag out. See if I can get that to fall back forward. And we'll give it another go. Holy smokes. There it is. Just keep getting stuck, but they are ejecting. There it goes. I'm gonna load this back in, see if we can get that to go again. I think what I want to do here is try and increase the strength of the recoil spring. I'm gonna throw a stronger one in there and see if it has an easier job pulling the barrel back forward and ripping a round out of the mag. I think it should, because I do have a stronger hand wound spring that we could test out. So we'll pop this aside. I'm going to throw this thicker spring on in there. Should be as simple as just, if I can figure out which direction this has to go. There it is. And you can see how much thinner this spring is. So we'll go ahead and try and get this one out. Should be as simple as just sliding this on. And then we'll get that barrel locking nut and we'll toss that on too. There it is. Push it down, twist, that's locked in place, and we'll get the muzzle brake back on. All right, that's where the fun begins. So we got a mag loaded with some mock rounds, and we even have our new fully loaded Glock mag. We're gonna throw that guy in first off, and then charge this guy back. And hopefully we can get BBs to fire and shells to eject at the same time. In 3, 2, 1. Okay, no shell eject, no BB. I think this will be the one that it does. What was that? Okay, BB's coming out, but the shell is not ejecting. Any reason why? This guy just isn't going back. There it goes. No shell ejection whatsoever. Am I doing something wrong? Very confused. It's even doing the full reciprocation of the both bolts, or I guess the bolt and the barrel. There it is. Well, there it goes. That time that didn't go back. I have no idea. I mean, I gotta say, even with how finicky it can be, this thing sounds menacing and it's a blast to fire. I think before I show you a little more about it and we start taking things apart and whatnot, why don't I see if we can get any shots on target? Just iron sights, obviously. And I got that little purple target down there. It's around 50 feet out, and we'll see if we can even remotely come close to making contact. 3, 2, 1. That wasn't too bad. That was on target. That was double feed. See how it's not like fully doing that reciprocation motion again? I don't really understand why, but at least like we can shoot things out of this. It feeds every time. Does it help if I shim the mag up even more? Oh, it does. Okay, I think the mag needs to be pushed up even further than it already is. So we're gonna try this all one last time, and I'm actually going to push the gas mag up into the chamber a little bit further and see if maybe simply just shimming it a little bit further than I've already shimmed it is enough to get this thing functioning exactly where we need it to be. With the combo of the stronger recoil spring, with full lubrication, with all of the mock shells and BBs. I'm gonna throw this guy back in though. Yeah, there's a few things here that are just like super finicky, and it's just doesn't really help. All right, let's see if shimming the mag upwards a little bit is enough to make the difference here. We'll put a hand here, and we'll kind of just push it up lightly and see if we get a better feeding from both BB shooting out full reciprocation and knocking a mock round shell out of the chamber. In 3, 2, 1. I think that's it. Bingo. So we got stuck again. There it is. Sometimes it gets stuck and the secondary bolt gets stuck on like the shell ejection. So I would assume that, again, like just pulling the trigger again, it resets that process. I think maybe a slightly stronger recoil spring maybe in here might help, but I'm not 100% sure. We'll finish off those rounds and see if we can hit them on target here. Yeah, 50 feet, it's really not that bad. I don't think that's the shimming. I think my tank is running out of air. This thing just eats air. Something else that I found kind of funny. Never mind, we're out. I do want to just kind of show you how it all functions, so we'll go ahead and start piecing this thing apart. You can kind of see how I get into it. I do also want to clear up a few things so there's no confusion here. This was a commissions project. We had both owned the files, me and Basement Arms, who built this for me, and I personally paid to have this made and sent over to me. Please do not go bombarding his Instagram or his website or his email or Discord or anything and begging for this to be made for you. That is not what I'm here to do. I have just made a relationship, the two of us together. We've become acquaintances over the last couple of months on Discord and worked on a few different projects, and I sponsored a couple, or he sponsored a couple of my videos on upgrade parts that he now offers and stuff too. So that's that. Again, moral of the story, this is not like a, ooh, he's offering these, and that is not, we have no permission from Panverine at all. It is simply, we both own the fires individually, purchased from Panverine, and then he just made this for me because I'm not inclined enough to make this myself. So I paid for him to make it with the files he owns. I also already own the files. That is not, I don't want any confusion here. Our next spring is on this rear side. We're just gonna pop this guy out. Careful, that'll just launch itself out of nowhere. That is the guide rod and the spring for the, I guess, like retractor or the shell retractor. Also super important that you make sure both mags are out. So pull this mag out as well. And then we're gonna go ahead and just tap this pin out from the other side. Up on the top, we can unscrew this thumb screw, which will allow us to remove our cheek rest. And then the entire thing pops apart into an upper and lower receiver. Now within the lower receiver, you can kind of see like a baseline of how it functions. It's got this massive nozzle. It's absolutely huge. And along with the massive nozzle is both the, I guess, recoil systems. So you have the rear bolt and then the one that's connected to the front barrel. And the way they connect is by this cool little rotating system. So this will latch on to, if I can get it to, gotta like push these in. It latches onto the barrel. We'll pull the barrel back. And then when it twists up in the receiver, it releases the barrel, lets the barrel fall forward, and the barrel releases a small latch up on the rod that's connected to that rear recoil system. If I'm explaining this even remotely close to understandable, and actually releases it and pushes it back into place so this guy can drive itself forward. It's at this whole like release system. Lower is actually extremely simple. It's like basically just like a fire control unit. And then of course your shell ejection system. And something super weird, again, like I said, like this thing's kind of all over the place. There's so many parts that are like reliant on glue and gluing together that just don't need to be, and it risks wobbling, moving around, breaking things and all that other nonsense. Like this part, for example, I imagine could be made into one part. I'm not like totally bashing it by any means. I could never design anything like this, but it's just like it's definitely a work in progress. It works, and it actually is. It holds up pretty dang well. It's just, it still is like it's a work in progress, it seems like. As things start to get dark and the sun starts to go down and we wrap things up, I do have to give credit where credit's due. This thing looks absolutely stunning. It is beautiful. And I really, again, even though some parts are a little finicky and it's tough to get it all right, a majority of those things are either A, because it seems like a lot of parts that need to be glued together become fragile, and that's just obviously, there's only so much you could do when it comes to gluing and welding plastic. But with it being what it is, and there's so many replicas out on the market that can barely handle HPA. I mean, even ones that like are purchasable that can't handle HPA and it will just blow up the internals, or even CO2. This thing just, it handles it. We're cranking 120 psi through this thing and it is just eating it. No problems getting things to function the way it's just its tolerances. And with as plastic parts after they're printed, as they start to cool, sometimes they warp a little bit, so sometimes it's sanding, and there's so many things that can go wrong, and yet still it works. It works, and it's just so freaking cool to fire. Like, I don't even know how to explain to you when holding it what it feels like, but I mean, my goal is already to fire a real one, but it shot up tenfold. Panverine, this thing is a monster. And I've been talking with Basement Arms, and for my personal use only, we've been tossing around the idea of potentially making one completely out of metal and machining it. And if that's something you guys want to see on this channel, I'm really going to need some support, because it's not going to be something cheap. So please just let me know. And if it is really something that people want to see, we'll make it happen. I appreciate you tuning in. I appreciate this being made. And I give all credit to Panverine where credit is due. This thing is so freaking cool. I have an Airsoft Lynx. I can't wait to take this to a game. I will catch you guys in the next adventure. Peace.